Most people never even noticed the janitor at Grayson Elite Gym. To them, he was just that quiet guy with a mop, the one in the faded hoodie, dragging one foot slightly like every step hurt, with a face carved by exhaustion instead of muscle. His name was Marcus, though hardly anyone bothered to learn it. To the young fighters who strutted around the gym, he wasn't a person. He was a punchline. Old Mop, they called him. They snickered when he walked by, cracked jokes as he scrubbed the sweat off the mats. And not once did any of them ever stop to wonder who he used to be before life put a mop in his hands. That night was fight night, the biggest event the gym held every year. The place buzzed with energy. Seats were filled with cheering friends, proud families, and eager sponsors, all hungry to see the next breakout star. The spotlight shone on the young fighters, sculpted bodies, confident smirks, flashy shorts they bragged about online. And among them stood the gym's golden boy, Jackson, the Cobra Cruz, undefeated, adored, and absolutely certain he owned the night. Fighter, famous for his vicious chokeholds and an even more vicious mouth. Jackson strutted around the mat like the whole gym was his personal stage. He hyped up the crowd, threw playful jabs into the air, and laughed loudly with his entourage. As he scanned the room, his eyes locked onto Marcus, quietly wiping sweat from the corner post. Jackson smirked. "Hey, Mop," he called out, his voice echoing across the gym. "Why don't you hop in here and teach us a move or two? Maybe show us how to clean up after we knock someone out." Laughter exploded from the stands. Even a few coaches couldn't hide their grins. Marcus didn't react. He didn't even glance up. He just kept wiping, slow and steady. That only fueled Jackson. "Come on, man," he shouted. "Show us that legendary janitor stance. Or are you scared to get on the mat with a real fighter?" Coach Ruben stepped in, trying to cool things down. "Jackson, enough," he warned. But before he could say more, Marcus gradually straightened. Quiet, controlled, and for the first time in months, he lifted his head and locked eyes with someone. His gaze met Jackson's steady, calm, impossible to read. "If I step on that mat," Marcus said softly, "you won't last 30 seconds. The gym collectively froze. Jackson burst out laughing. "Did you all hear that?" he shouted. "All right, coach, come on. Let's give the man his big moment." The crowd roared with excitement, eager for humiliation disguised as entertainment. Coach Ruben hesitated. His eyes shifted to Marcus, studying him in a way no one ever bothered to. "You sure, Marcus?" he asked quietly, almost cautiously. Marcus gave a single, steady nod, and just like that, the janitor dropped his mop. He stepped onto the mat with a stiff gait, slipping off his faded hoodie to reveal something no one expected, a solid, battle-worn frame beneath the worn clothes. His back was a roadmap of faded scars, and stretched across his shoulder blades was a massive tattoo, cracked with age but unmistakable, a coiled snake being crushed in a clenched fist. The young fighters stared in confusion. None of them recognized it, but Coach Ruben did, his face drained of color. No way," he muttered under his breath. The bell rang. Jackson strutted forward, cocky as ever, bouncing lightly on his toes. He tossed a lazy jab toward Marcus, confident he'd make the old janitor flinch. Marcus didn't move. Instead, with a sudden precision that made the entire audience gasp, he stepped in at the exact perfect second. He ducked under the punch. wrapped his arms around Jackson's waist, twisted sharply, and slammed the undefeated fighter onto the mat like he weighed nothing. Before Jackson could even process what happened, Marcus slid into flawless side control, smooth, practiced. Automatic. Jackson thrashed wildly. Too late. Marcus trapped an arm, locked his legs, tightened his grip around Jackson's neck, and squeezed with terrifying efficiency. 14 seconds. That's all it took for Jackson, the Cobra Cruise, to tap out, red-faced, gasping, utterly humbled. The gym fell completely silent. Every eye locked on Marcus, who didn't smile, didn't flex, didn't raise his hands in victory. He simply released his hold, stood, and walked off the mat as if nothing had happened. He bent down, picked up his mop, and continued cleaning the corner post. Calm and unassuming. Coach Ruben couldn't stay quiet any longer. He stepped into the center of the mat, voice echoing across the stunned crowd. You all think Marcus is just a janitor. His eyes swept the gym, fierce and serious. That man is a legend. Marcus Iron Grip Delaney, former US Marine, former Pan Am submission champion. 10 years ago, he was training Olympic hopefuls, until life hit him harder than any opponent ever could. The room hung on his every word. No one laughed. Ruben's voice softened, tinged with awe and sorrow. He lost his wife, his son, everything. He walked away from the sport, swore he'd never fight again, and yet he came here, not to compete, not to prove himself, but to work as a janitor, because he said, I need to be close to something that still teaches discipline, something that still has honor. Jackson sat on the mat, eyes downcast, shame written across every line of his face. Later that evening, he approached Marcus, voice trembling. I'm sorry, he said. I judged you, disrespected you. I deserved what happened. Marcus studied him for a long moment. Then he gave a single, deliberate nod. You've got talent, he said quietly, but you don't understand respect. Learn that, and you'll go far. From that day on, nothing was the same. No one laughed at Marcus anymore. Fighters nodded when he walked by. Coaches sought his advice. Even the youngest trainees paused to watch him with quiet reverence. Marcus wasn't just the janitor. He was a living reminder that true strength isn't about fame, muscles, or flashy titles. It's about honor, discipline, and the courage to keep going when life knocks you down.